Hello, welcome to First Thoughts. I'm Connor Eyzaguirre,
I'm Caleb Boucher.
and today we're discussing Ridley Scott's latest historical epic, Napoleon, starring Joaquin Phoenix and Vanessa Kirby. Marketed to hell. I've been watching this trailer for months, and admittedly, kind of a disappointment, which is unfortunate. But you give me you can't condense a historical figure like Napoleon Bonaparte. You can't condense his entire life into 2.5 hours. You just can't do it.
No.
And this feels like a highlight reel of Napoleon's greatest hits, and a lot of it didn't play out accurately. But we'll get into it. What did you think?
I pretty much had the same feeling, which by the way, what another weird weekend to go down for this year. In that like a holiday weekend, I don't think a single film was a huge hit because Wish flopped horribly. And so I think the new Hunger Games did pretty well. I think it had an advantage on this weekend. But that was about it. And it actually technically came out the week before it. So um I pretty much agree. I pretty much had like I think we're on like you said it before, we're on the same page with this. We're like I still like this film overall, but like I keep hoping, man, that Ridley Scott's gonna be like a Gladiator type of like give me that into it, like I did when I watched Gladiator with his like when he keeps doing like these historical biopics or sort of saying epics that he likes to go to all the time. And I still have yet to get anything even remotely as good as Gladiator, from being honest. And I'll tell you right now, I'm not fucking looking forward to Gladiator 2. Unnecessary. It's stupid. I fucking hate the very idea of this thing coming out. Um, but with this one, like, yeah, it felt like a highlight reel. Like we get a little bit of him and Josephine, a little bit of him and him as a military tactician. Because look, I get it. He's the character Napoleon has, I would say, gone down more as a joke in history. Obviously with the Napoleon complex and things like that. This was a chance to kind of show that, like, yes, I'm not saying like he's earned that reputation by historians for a reason, but you can't deny that this guy was a great military tactician and things like that, right? That this guy was smart, especially when it came to military battles. Um, he just greed and hubris were his biggest issue. Um, But yeah, it felt like we got a little bit of everything, but not that much of a deep dive, which apparently Scott has said he is doing like a longer TV show on Apple TV Plus, which will
Yeah.
probably dig more into the stuff we're bitching about, honestly.
Um. So Napoleon Bonaparte was 5'7" in real life, which is short now, but at the time, kind of average height. So this whole Napoleon complex largely comes from British propaganda trying to make Napoleon look like a little man with a big chip on his shoulder, which I think mentally he kind of was, but not physically. Uh, I read a bit of trivia about this movie that I'm curious to hear your opinion on. It's from IMDb, and it says in December 2022, it was reported to the media that Joaquin Phoenix's performance as Napoleon was so powerful that Sir Ridley Scott had to rewrite the script to adjust for him. Do you agree with that?
No, I don't think Joaquin Phoenix was bad in this film, but he's done better performances. This felt really subdued, even for him. Um, and like I kind of felt like he didn't know. I don't know if it was Joaquin's fault or maybe the script. Like it didn't feel like he really had a grasp on the character throughout the movie.
Yeah, I didn't really know what he was going for because there's so many, like sometimes he's this vain, little baby, like when he's yelling at the British ambassador, like you think you're so great because you have ships. Like what was that? But then also he's this, brilliant, respected military mind who, led amazing victories for the French army and then, conquers the whole nation. But then he's still this weird little arrogant man child at times. Like there were so many different kinds of Napoleon in this movie that I didn't really know which one is the real Napoleon. You know what I mean? Like Joaquin just kind of
Yeah.
trying everything.
Yeah, it's like I don't think he got any like direction, it felt like, on what he should be doing. So it's almost like he was like, let me just give you everything and hope it works. Um, and I'm gonna say it, I kind of blame Scott on that more than I do Joaquin, because guess what? You're the director. Your job is to hone in these performances to get what you want. And if you're not doing that because you're worried more about how many cameras you got for these goddamn battle scenes, well, you kind of failed your job there, Mr. Serpently. Uh Real quick, before we get more into this, I do want to share a funny story about my theater experience, real quick.
Yeah.
So I see this film in light of some news that hit me that made and put me in the best of moods. Quote unquote. I was like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna go see this film. I'm gonna have a good time, cheer myself up, right? As we know nowadays in American cinema, we finally caught up to, I believe Europe's been doing it way longer than we have, but we pay for seats here, which I love. I love paying for seat, knowing that, hey, that's my seat. I'm sitting right there. I paid for it. Um, when I got my ticket, I was the only one in the row, the only one. Now, obviously, people bought tickets since then. I go in. The couple on the right of me was smart. They skipped the seat next to me and then got their two seats. So it was a seat between us. Smart couple. I appreciate it. Cool with it. Not the one to my left. They got right next to me, and I was like, are you serious? So, I go up there, right? I look at her. She has her purse in my seat. And I
Mhm.
was like, ma'am, this is my seat. And she seems surprised. She moved the purse. She seems genuinely like surprised at what's happening right now. As soon as my butt touches said seat, all of a sudden she goes, oh, hell no, I'm not sitting next to a stranger. And like got up and made like a big scene, like a big ass scene. And the dude, her significant, who's on crutches, by the way, immediately like, I told you, like, I'm like, okay, what the hell is happening right here? I'm looking at the couple next to me on my right side. We both just kind of like made a face, like, what the fuck? I even looked at her, I was like, I told her, I was like, I bought these tickets when no one was here. She goes, she's being stupid. She's like, hey, I'm enjoying the movie. Or I'm enjoying the seat I paid for. She's like, yeah, whatever. I was like, okay. But they end up moving down and sitting in the handicap seats we got at the Arsenal Mark. You know what I'm talking about? Every theater has. We have like the space with the wheelchair, then like two seats, more space. They sat there, which, hey, your fucking boyfriend's in crutches. Wouldn't that have made more sense to pay for those anyway? Instead of going up a row of steps and crutches to sit next to someone. So they moved down, and honestly, thank God, because for anyone who's seen the show Ridiculousness, when Chanel West Coast was on the goddamn show, and that fucking laugh that it was one of those ladies that she looked great, but God, that laugh killed me. I heard it a couple times during some of the trailers, and I wanted to punch her immediately.
Yeah.
It was just loud and obnoxious. And then at one point, I see the boyfriend pull out his vape. I knew it because you could see it light up when he was taking a puff. I'm like, oh, we seriously vaping right now? So like, really, I dodged a bullet that they made a big hissy fit about this and moved. And the lesson to this whole story is, guys, every theater thing has a legend that tells you how to read when you're paying for your seats, so you know if you're sitting next to someone or not. Pay attention when you're paying for your seats. We don't want to sit next to a stranger, which is, I want to ask her, like, what do you do when you go to concerts or any other thing with strangers you don't know? And you're sat next to someone. Um, Pay attention to the legend. And if you're trying to be that person, it's like, oh, well, it's one seat taken. That guy's not going to. Because I'm sure what way I kind of perceive these people, they probably thought, oh, this loser's not going to show up. I did because I paid for the ticket. I was going to see the movie. I showed up and I wanted my seat.
I hate people who just assume that there's nobody else on earth and they have priority on literally everything. I hate people like that.
Yeah, the theater was dead too. So before we went, this was not Spider-Man No Way Home. Those of like she just had to pick what was available, which I would have understood then. I was like, the theater was dead. Like I was like, why didn't you just move? I was like, you bought this ticket. Why are you getting angry? Like, and then I think the boyfriend said something because at one point I heard her very loud. He goes, I don't need to be embarrassed. I'm like, you kind of do. You fucked up. Like, I'm not the asshole.
Sam. Well, at least
I should have like had like a I should have had like a meltdown on her because of the news I got in the night. I will not say on here, but you know
yeah.
what I'm talking about. And she's be like, look, lady, now is not the time. Like, just fucking lose it.
Which like were they silent during the movie? Because this feels like movie talker vibes.
I didn't hear them for their ad. I would see occasionally they would whisper, but anything like he would whisper, she would not.
I had
She
a
talked. And oh
yeah.
god, they like to the Bob Marley trailer. Oh my god, they were dancing, doing like they're white. Okay, I want to put that out right now. They were white, doing reggae dancing. I'm like, whoa, whoa, you're not. Let's calm down there. All right, we're going to no, not you two. No, no, no.
My God. Uh, I had a weird thing happen during my screening. I saw mine
Hmm.
Friday afternoon, like early afternoon, and it was about half packed theater, and no noise through the entire movie, and then about like let's say two hours and 20 minutes in, I hear from the front row just a very old grumbling voice say, "That's not how you're supposed to behave at the movies." And then he just goes, same voice. It's really distracting. I didn't hear the other side of this, so I don't know what he was distracted by or what behavior you don't do at the movies. But there was no situation, and then this guy just unprompted grumbled at somebody, and then it was over. But I kept thinking like, oh shit, what's about to happen?
Yeah, what the hell? The
It's always
fuck?
weird when you hear half an argument that has clearly gotten under someone else's skin, but you didn't hear anything.
Yeah, you're just like, I didn't. What? Oh yeah, I would love to like if like if my asked a couple next to me, if anyone else had heard her just say, "I'm not sitting next to a stranger," because someone would be like, "Well, wait, what's going on there?" I'd be like, "I don't even know. I just sat in the seat I paid for."
If I feel like if you were more obnoxious, you could have had fun with that. Like when she loudly says, I'm not gonna sit next to a stranger, act like your family and just be like, Deborah, come on, why are you gotta be like that? Like we've known each other for years.
Dude, you know what I really thought about doing? I almost wanted to go down to them when the movie was and be like, "Hey, so what do you guys think of the movie?" Yeah, I'm the stranger you want to sit next to. What do you guys think?
You should have moved and sat next to them again.
Just keep following them.
Like we're seat buddies. That's sacred.
Yeah. Oh, we don't want you don't want to be friends during this 2.5 hour movie? Okay. I'll,
Should carry like literature, like a pamphlet, like, so you're sitting next to Caleb. What are your next 2 hours gonna look like?
dude, I should have been like, hey, I should have been looked at the guy like, hey, looking at her, I have recent experience. She's cheating on you, probably. You should get out of it. Just to see how she would responded.
Like you should have been the boyfriend. Like, it's me. I'm sorry, dude, but we've been seeing each other for a few months now. I felt like I owed it to you.
I can
What's he
show
gonna
you my
do? Chase
back.
you? He's not gonna chase you. He's got crutches on.
It's crutches. I'll kick them.
God damn. Yeah. Ah, that's crazy. Yeah, this could have unfolded in so many hilarious ways.
Yeah. I think I was just too like, what the fuck just happened? When I was like, what? I was like, okay. Because actually, when I went to go see Next Goal Wins, it was me and two other people, a couple. That was it. And same thing happened. They, for some reason, bought seats next to me. And I was like, are you fucking serious? Why? But they were cool about it. I even looked at them and was like, hey, look, you guys seem cool, but like, if no one else comes in, if no offense to y'all, I'll move a seat down. It's fine. Sure enough, no one else came in. I moved a seat down. Like, we were all cool. I didn't act like a big deal. We were joking. We had a good time. We all three left the theater as friends to never talk again.
I remember it was 2021. It was when I was living in San Marcos and I was frequenting the Evo near me. There was, I think the movie was, I think it was Snake Eyes, that shitty G.I. Joe movie. I, it was an empty theater. I was sitting in my comfy recliner, and these old ladies walked in and sat right next to me in an empty theater. Like I was here and they sat right here, and I was like, really? And they proceeded to make small talk the whole time about, oh, that guy's handsome. Oh, I think he was in Crazy Rich Asians. Oh yeah, that's the guy from that. And I wanted to elbow some grandmas, but that's not how I was raised.
I, and that's why I say, like, people look, it is 2023 going on 2024 at this point. When you're buying your movie tickets online or when you're buying them at theaters, I know sometimes people wait until they get there and then they pay for them. They have a legend. Pay attention to it. And if you don't want to sit next to someone, a stranger, that's fine. That's understandable, especially if it's an empty theater. Get a seat gap, at least a seat gap. You give me at least one seat gap, I'm cool. I don't give a shit.
Like you said, it's almost 2024. This is a system that's been around for a while. And when I'm going to the movies, I give everyone a benefit of the doubt because I just assume we're all here for the same reason. We're all here to sit quietly and watch this film. Why do people have to make this complicated? Why do I always end up with some Yahoo? It's their first time ever going to the movies. They've never heard of this kind of entertainment format and they're so excited to try it out. And they don't understand how anything fucking works. It's the worst people. I'll take malicious asshole movie talker over clueless, I've never been outside my living room movie talker.
Yeah, yeah.
Ugh.
You're just looking at like, why would you do this to us right now?
Did you listen to the episode I did on the killer with Adam?
Yes, I did.
You heard about
I
my
mean, because I just watched
situation.
The Killer.
You heard about my whole deal with the other guy in the theater whose life I ruined that day.
Yeah, yeah. That
I
made me
felt so
laugh.
bad about that. Ah, I still think about that. Like, I wonder if that guy thinks about that day with just anger.
Could have enjoyed the movie except for the asshole coughing in front of me.
It happens, and I'm sorry. Oh, okay. Back to Napoleon.
Yes, back to Napoleon and
Ridley
Scott,
Scott,
Sir Ridley Scott.
Sir Ridley Scott, a man, a brilliant creative mind who just keeps getting angrier every year about the fact that the Academy is kind of done with him. He never won anything. He's been nominated. He was up for Gladiator. He was up for Black Hawk Down. He was up for The Martian, and he lost every time.
You know how like John Carpenter is a grumpy old man, but he does it in a funny way. And actually, I don't know if anyone watched when he was on Colbert. He can play ball when he needs to. If you know how to ask the guy questions, he will answer your questions. He's very aloof with what he wants to answer, but he will answer them. Scott, though, like, whereas it's kind of endearing with John Carpenter, like it's almost like it cracks me up. Scott's to me just comes off like a fucking asshole. Like, dude,
It's
get
weird.
enough. Man. Yeah, it's like, dude, you're 85. Get the fuck over it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know where this comes from. I mean, his work's been, good for the past few years, but I haven't. He hasn't had another Alien in a long time.
I think for me, what has been because, and it's very obviously noticeable his attitude, and that because he's so adamant about like getting Oscar nominations and a win, it's like he doesn't worry about just making a good film. That's why we haven't had an Alien or a Blade Runner or a Gladiator. Hell, even The Martian, which was one of his much better films recently, in a long time. We don't get those a whole lot from him because he's not. those to me were films where I felt like that's a guy just trying to make a good movie with those films, the ones I just mentioned. With the other ones, it's like Ridley Scott chasing that fucking, you know, that gold, and he's not really making a good film out of it. He's not caring about that part of it.
Yeah. To me, the last time we had that from Ridley was American Gangster, 2007. That movie's phenomenal. You really feel like he cared about this story. But since then, I mean, Robin Hood, Prometheus, The Counselor, which I know you fucking despised.
I fucking
Uh,
hate that. God, that movie is such a piece of shit.
there
God, I
was
hate the counselor.
his Super White Moses movie with Exodus, Gods and Kings. There was The Martian, which was a good bright spot among all this. Then you did Alien Covenant, which really didn't resonate that well with people. All the Money in the
No.
World, which I liked, but it's pretty much strictly Oscar bait from here out with All the Money in the World, The Last Duel, House of Gucci, and now Napoleon.
Yeah.
And
And the thing with, and look, I'll say this, I like Prometheus a little bit more than most people, but caveat, however, I absolutely understand when people's issues with that film. I understand completely. I don't think it's perfect by any means. I wouldn't even rank it up there with his best. What's interesting is that he went so hard with Prometheus and like it not being an alien film that like he course corrected with Alien Covenant and was like, it needs to be an alien movie. But then in the process, like the guy who gave us Alien forgot how to make a fucking alien movie twice.
I'd be okay with it if the guy was just, would lighten up a little bit. I mean, his movies are very much designed now to catch the eye of the Academy voters. We all know it. We can all see it. So just own it. It's like quit acting like you. I see him in interviews talking about this. Like, do you see what he said about the French when the French were like, this is not a proper representation of Napoleon, and he was like, the French don't even like themselves. It's like, what the hell,
Yeah,
dude?
his shit's weird because like on one end, like, do I agree that if you're going to a movie like a movie, whether it's a biography or not, hoping for facts, I do think, admittedly, yes, I do think you're kind of an idiot because it's a movie, it's going to be traumatized. Yes, it's going to be fake as fuck. If you want the actual thing, you got to go watch a documentary. That, but again, however, caveat. Trust me, I'm not completely on Scott's side here. Don't come at me yet. The French, I can under fucking stand why they would have issues with this film. It's about someone in their goddamn history there, Scott, and you're English. So let's kind of really think on that one here. So it's like, yes, on one end, you're going to a movie, you're not gonna get facts, but like, dude, come on.
First thing I said when I left the theater was, I don't think it's fair that an Englishman made that movie. It's because yeah, it's pretty biased. If you know anything about world history, you know that England and France have had quite the rivalry slash seething hatred for pretty much the past 1,000 years. Uh,
Do
and
you think that means
hmm,
Scott would hate me as soon as he heard my last name? He'd be like, "Oh, you French son of a bitch."
I don't think it applies to every English person and every French person. I think Ridley probably, yeah, would, especially if he heard this.
Probably.
Um, but like, what was your bit about movies, like going to historical movies, expecting the true story. I don't think. All right, so don't expect it. Definitely go into this thinking this is a movie. But also, if you're making a movie about somebody who existed, about a true story, I do think you have an obligation to stick to the facts as much as possible because you are adapting
Yeah,
this.
I'm not saying you shouldn't stick to the facts. That's what I'm saying is like if you're going in there expecting a documentary level of realism with a movie, then no, you are kind of wrong. Because fact matter is real life is fucking boring. No matter what, real life is fucking boring. They're going to traumatize stuff. They're going to do things to get you more into it. I mean, granted, it's why I don't go watch a lot of music biographies anymore because I got sick and fucking tired of somehow every band having the same goddamn issue in every fucking biography movie. That's why I won't go. I'm not seeing the Bob Marley one. Sorry, I'm not watching it. I'm not gonna watch him have the same rant issues that can be applied to Queen and like insert, the other ones we've gone throughout the years. Um, but yes, do they have an obligation to try to stick us factually to us? Yeah, there's things that I absolutely think Scott could have fucking done better with. As far as like honestly, the title character, like, dude, like the movie's called Napoleon, it's about him. Could you help Joaquin Phoenix out here and rein in how he should be perceived in this film? Because we get a fucking bipolar Napoleon, as far as I'm concerned, throughout this movie.
Well, I felt like I knew less about the guy when the movie was over than I did when I walked in there, which is weird.
I know he really liked France, and I'm like, well, yeah, he's a Frenchman, a military tactician for the French army. Yeah, duh. That part I knew. Movie. I didn't need any more info on that.
Well, I guess that a lot of historians are tired of this particular portrayal of Napoleon, which kind of views him as this tyrannical nut who conquered the country. And in truth, yeah, there was some of that with Napoleon Bonaparte, but in truth, I mean, he was a fairly respected leader.
That Yeah, and that's why I say it's weird that like Scott did this being English, because it's like it's kind of biased because yes, did was Napoleon consumed to an extent by his own greed and hubris? Yes, he was. In real life, he was. It's what was his downfall ultimately. But there was a reason France loved him. There was a reason he was who he was. Because like, yes, like you said, he was a very respected military tactician. He was smart. He won a lot of battles because he knew how to hone in on the weaknesses of the opposing army and fucking just use that to win. Like the guy was a very smart military tactician, incredibly smart.
Also, he was descended from Italian nobility, so this whole he came from nothing thing is bullshit. You don't rise to that level of power in the French government in that time without having serious political ties and family ties. Like you got to know somebody. You can't just be some geek off the street who's like, "I love France." And like, "Well, you're a captain now. Congratulations." That's not how it works.
Yeah.
So I don't know why he played that angle of it. Like, why make up this whole like, oh, he was nothing and then he took everything. It's like, no, he was handed quite a lot, and due to his own
Yeah.
skill as a military commander, he got more and more handed to him, and then he decided, I'm going to take this whole thing.
Yeah. And then that's what led to his downfall and his exile till the day he died.
Yep, he overestimated himself and he underestimated the Duke of Wellington. Uh,
Yeah, he did.
Speaking
Yeah,
also, they never fucking met either. That never happened either.
that I didn't know. I did not know that.
Yeah, no. On the battlefield, they were like, from like with their spyglasses, like that son of a bitch. But they never met in a ship to be like, thanks for the breakfast, Duke. And Duke's like, of course, but you got to get the hell out of here. Like that didn't happen. I don't know
Yeah.
why they did.
I don't know. There's a lot of scenes in this film that happened. I'm like, wait a minute. But again, that's like what we talked about the victim of this film, like a highlight. Where there are so many scenes where I'm like, wait a minute, how the fuck did we get here? Like,
There's no connecting tissue. It really is just like, Toulon happens, and then he conquered France, and now we're like, then he's getting divorced. Now we're in Waterloo. But like, there's nothing weaves that together. It's just jumping from point to point to point. It really does feel like a highlight reel that you'd play at like Napoleon Bonaparte's funeral if it happened today.
yeah, it was like, all right, we're here at this point now. Didn't know this was happening. Um, I will say, performance wise, Vanessa Kirby is the standout in this film. She is acting circles around everyone else, honestly.
Which is amazing considering, Joaquin Phoenix as Napoleon was his big, like, oh my God. And he is just phoning it in. I don't understand because, like, the one I keep comparing it to Gladiator because it's, Ridley Scott and Joaquin Phoenix working together again. So I
Yeah,
keep seeing echoes of Commodus in this guy. And I feel like he could have pulled from that. There's definitely elements of this, spoiled child in position of amazing power but there's no, I don't know. There's nothing there.
Yeah, well, and that's why I say like I don't know if I should blame Joaquin Phoenix or Ridley Scott for poor direction because like I know it. Yeah, like even if you try to play the sport rat, there's no context given to why he would be that. Again, we know in real life he came from nobility, so like he that would explain if he's a little bit spoiled. He's always had everything handed to him, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
That's a good point. We never see the whole like, why does he want to conquer France? Why does he want to be, this huge, feared, respected world leader? Like when we meet him for the first time in the movie, he's already a respected military captain in the French army. Like he's not, shining the emperor's shoes or something. Like he's already there. He's already in the zone. So like, where is this coming from?
yeah, it almost felt like they were lazily honing in on the tired smear campaign of the Napoleon complex that we've heard about all our lives growing up. Oh, you have a Napoleon complex. If I have to explain it, then just fucking look it up. I'm not explaining it. But it felt like they were honing in on that. And again, that's why I said with my butt with the whole like historical accuracy thing. That part, yes, if you're a French critic or one of these people coming at Ridley Scott for accuracy, you kind of have a leg to stand on with that because like why are you using that to tell your movie? Like that is something you don't have to do. Like there is no necessity to hone in on the Napoleon complex when you're telling the story about this guy. You could have made a film that finally shed that and shown it was a smear campaign done by the damn English because they were that like worried about him. That was the thing. The English army was worried about this guy. Like keep that in mind because that's how good he was at his damn job.
When Napoleon left Elba with an army fully ready to take France back, the European powers united to take him down. That was some rare shit in the 1780s, like the 1800s. Everyone hated everybody. Everyone was trying to conquer their own piece. So when the fucking Prussians and the English and the Russians and the Austrians all team up and are like, we got to take this guy down or he's going to take Europe away from us. That is serious. That's real. And that if it's not like, fucking Joffrey from Game of Thrones. Like this is Tywin Lannister we're talking about here.
Yeah. And the movie never makes it feel like we never get that's the one thing we never really get in the movie is that again, there's a reason Napoleon isn't in the history books just because of the fucking complex and the jokes and stuff. He's in it because of how great he was military wise. Like he led victory after victory after victory constantly.
His tactics are still studied today in military colleges around the world. Like they broke the mold with this guy. And I don't know who he was as a person, but then again, neither does Ridley Scott. Like it finding that side of him is up for debate. But choosing to portray him as this petulant, angry at the world, almost incel is a very weird decision.
It
And
really
also,
is good.
yeah, I was just gonna say his relationship with Josephine also pretty blown out of proportion or not portrayed that well. In truth, she was not willing to like just divorce him because he's like, oh, you need a kid. She was terrified of losing Napoleon. She did not want to be divorced. She did not like that. He didn't slap her at the formal divorce hearing because she wouldn't read the thing. Like she gets the shaft too. Uh,
Yeah, I was actually that's great. I was about to talk about her in the framework around their whole thing. Yeah, I looked into it and like the only thing that's like remotely true in the movie is that it took her a while to love him how he loved her, but eventually they had a very deep love for each other. Um that even when they had to divorce, they were still in communication apparently. Still talking to each other. Um and yeah, he didn't from what I was looking up, there's no records of him ever laying hands on her like that. Like this guy truly loved her. Um, and eventually, hurt him. and they just kind of don't really. They showed us like even for them, it's like this mind game they're playing with each other. I was like, that was never when my quick little, even in my quick little research, nothing about this being like a mind game between them. Like they just truly did love each other.
Here's a question that I've always wondered about this. So in the movie, he can't conceive children with Josephine. So his mom buys him a hooker and says, let's see if it's you or her. And he gets the hooker pregnant and there's a bastard child. That's still Napoleon's child. The bloodline
Mm-hmm.
of the emperor is through him. Why not just claim that child and say, if anyone has a problem with this, I will kill you? He's already conquered France. He's already the emperor. He's taken this place. He clearly doesn't give a fuck about tradition. So why not just do that? Who is he pissing off? He's already pissed off everyone he's gonna piss off.
Yeah, that didn't mean I was like, why not just claim the child as like hers or something? Like,
Or
how
just
is
say, like,
every
this is
time
my
they're like,
bastard child. Josephine is not his mother, but if anyone wants to have words with me about that, I will take your head and put it on a pike outside the palace.
yeah, I've seen like how many fantasy shows that have zero issues with that, like at all. You tell me in real life we had issues with that.
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
And don't say it's like, oh, God would say, it's an affront to God. Like, you're already fucking around on your wife, which is one of the commandments. So like, you clearly
Yeah,
don't care that much.
right. A wife that did fuck around with you. Apparently that part was true when I looked it up. She did fuck around with him at first.
I was laughing my ass off when she gets home and like all of her shit's on the front lawn. Like
That was actually really
even in the
funny.
1790s, they still did that shit.
Look, man, some things just transcend time. All right. Look, I was saying if things in my personal life, what I knew had happened in a little differently, I would have done the same thing. Just saying.
Yeah. I don't know. I
But
wonder about that. Like, you have a child right there. It's your bloodline. It's your child. Just say, this is, this is Billy Bonaparte,
well, and
and
that
like, fuck anyone who challenges that.
that was another thing. Like this movie, I don't know if it's gonna be in the fucking longer cut. Whatever cut, I guess the Sir Ridley Scott cut, whatever we want to fucking call it when it comes out. Um, Napoleon, even longer. I don't know. But this movie, and when I looked it up, so apparently in Napoleon's life, his mom and sisters were very important in his life. We get mentions of his sisters, only see his mom for a couple of scenes. She has two kids. I looked it up. Josephine had two kids prior to Napoleon. You see them in like a scene and then they're gone for the rest of the movie. I'm like, what the fuck happened to them?
I I
And
thought they
what
weren't
happened to
those
the
her.
bastard kid?
What happened to Bastard Kid? Yes, but I thought that those kids were Josephine's siblings. Were they not her? Were they her children?
I believe they were her. Yeah. When I looked it up briefly, I believe they were like her children, which is why she couldn't conceive. Something happened after one of them.
Despite their, yeah, I guess so. Yeah, she was arrested during the revolution for being a noble, and I guess tried to, yeah, something happened. So yeah,
Yeah. But either way, like this film, they all disappear. And I'm like, what happened to them? Even when she gets like exiled, I'm like, what happened to her two kids? Did they die? Like, what the fuck?
yeah, I don't know. I don't know. And also, why didn't they just kill him? The most dangerous man in France. You took it. You ended his reign, and you're just going to be like, you go stay in timeout chair, and you can't come out. We're not going to guard it or anything. We're just going to assume you're going to do the right
Best
thing
part,
and just sit there quietly.
best part is when he comes back and they all have to set aside their differences, like, we gotta stop this guy because we were fucked if he tries to conquer us. They just do it again. They're like, all right, so this time we're going to exile you again, but this time we will have someone watching you. We realize they were like John Hammond. I'm thinking that because I literally just watched Jurassic Park. Um, they're like John Hammond when he's like, okay, this time we're going to do it better. I see how we can fix this. It's like, no, you just did the same thing, except now you have people watching him.
Reminds me of that line from The Lost World where Hammond's like, "We're not making the same mistakes," and Malcolm's like, "No, you're making all new ones." Like, yeah, you're just God. I'll never understand why they didn't just put a bullet in Napoleon's head and say he is no longer emperor of France, kill all his heirs, kill Josephine, and start over. Like, I don't get
Yeah,
that. I mean, I'm not saying it's what they
anyone
should
who
have done,
supports
but
him, yeah,
yeah.
anyone who supports him, kill them.
Can you imagine if, like, let's say, as a hypothetical, 1945, the Russians invade Berlin, America invades on the other side, they corner Hitler. Hitler doesn't kill himself. He gets arrested, and they just decide, all right, you are going to stay on that island. We're going to give you like 3,000 soldiers for some reason, and we're just going to ignore you and hope you don't come back. What the fuck?
Don't start World War III, you crazy scamp.
Yeah. And then he, obviously comes back, invades Germany, conquers half of it. The Russians and the rest of Europe team up and kick his ass again. And then they tell him, all right, we're going to put you on a different island. We're going to give you same amount of soldiers. This time we're going to watch you and don't you do nothing again. This is strike two. You don't want to see what happens when we get the three. It seems so empty.
Yeah, and how many islands do they have up their fucking sleeve to keep sending them to?
It's Europe. There's always an island.
I was like, there's just always an island at the ready. Okay, so that one didn't work, but don't worry, we have that one next.
Why didn't you just send him back to Elba, but like fucking watch him this time?
Yeah, and don't have a boat so close to the island. That was the big thing. Why does he even have a boat that could get to the bigger boat? Why did you give him that? He's exiled. He shouldn't be able to leave, dumb fucks.
I don't know the answer because it's so fucking stupid. They literally like let him, it's like locking a guy up in Alcatraz, but giving him the fucking key to the cell and just hoping he doesn't use it.
Yeah, right. Like, hey, please don't use it.
We're gonna trust you. Don't let me regret this.
Yeah, don't break my trust.
God. Yeah, the whole time I'm just thinking like you could just kill him right now, and what are the peasants gonna do? Clearly nothing. They can handle you can handle the peasants.
Yeah. Also, until he talks, they were on your side. As we saw in that one scene where they were ready to shoot him if necessary. And then he talks to them and they went, you know what? Napoleon's right. We like this guy.
What happened to his brother?
Dude, characters just disappear. Like he talks about his brother at the beginning, and then just we get that one scene where we actually see his brother. Then he disappears for the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
But also, apparently, Josephine slept with Paul in real life. That does not get touched on in the movie. Can't have that.
I didn't quite understand. So when Napoleon and those two other guys decide to overthrow the French nobility as the first consul, I don't understand how that then became Napoleon is emperor of France and completely in charge of everybody. Like, how did that happen?
Well, I don't know, because again, it's like we were talking about. It just was like there's no connective tissue. We just went from that to now he's actually like the king of France. We're like, wait, what? He just got the council, and also he just kept doing his thing after booting them all off. There was like no repercussion whatsoever. Like, I was like, okay, like again, this is why I'm like, I can't believe I'm saying this after having sat through fucking Killers of a Flower Moon. We need the longer cut, Scott. Like, goddamn, like you just have scenes that happen and don't make sense in relation to the scene I just watched.
I don't know if I want to watch a 4-hour cut of this, but I feel like I have to because I do want to know like what got left out. What am I missing here? Because I'm missing something.
Hopefully, it's this is great segue to the next stuff I want to talk about: sex and violence. Hopefully, it's not more awkward sex scenes of Joaquin just humping away at fucking Vanessa Kirby. He looks like she wants to be anywhere else but there.
Be fair, I think sex wasn't really a two-party game until like the 60s. Up to that point,
I mean, no.
The man gets off and the woman takes it.
Yeah, look, no. I mean, realistically, yeah, no. You could argue this is probably a realistic depiction, but I'm just gonna say it after going through Game of Thrones and stuff. Let's have sex that where everyone's looking like they're having a good time. It's okay.
And I want to make it clear, I don't agree with what I just said, but it is an unfortunate fact of history that
It's an unfortunate fact. Back in the day, guys, there's a reason guys went to the brothel and it was accepted because you had sex with your wife to make babies, but you went to the brothel to have sex for pleasure, and just I'm not condoning it. That's just how it was back then.
I was laughing my ass off at that first like aggressive hump sesh where Napoleon just kind of climbs off and goes like, "Let that good work bring us a son." Like, cool it, Casanova. Let's not
Oh yeah,
good
yeah.
work. Come
I
on.
will say it was funny because you see her and she's like not into this at all, and just the and he even gets God involved. He's like, may the good Lord bless us with a boy after. I'm like, Jesus Christ, dude, you were humping for like 5 seconds. I was like, it looked pathetic.
Oh my, yeah, it
Like, there's a
was.
reason she's going to the young dude. He's probably giving it to her for like hours on end.
Also, real quick, Napoleon Bonaparte was like 24 when he won the Battle of Toulon. Uh, Joaquin is like 47. Like, I feel like you
And
could
I
have.
guess Vanessa Kirby is in her 30s. And we got it. God, don't you love how Hollywood ages people?
Yeah, Josephine was 6 years older than Napoleon. He did not attend the execution of Marie Antoinette. He was in Toulon at the time. Never met Wellington. Yeah, Ridley just like watched a couple documentaries about Napoleon, put together his own shit, and did not fact check or didn't really seem to care.
He watched them like half asleep and was like, someone was like, "Hey, you want to fact check?" He probably went, "You want to shut the fuck up?" Was probably his response. Um,
Probably, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
yeah. Well then, okay. I don't know how you agreed on this because I did comment on the battle scenes in my Letterboxd review. Ridley Scott, for anyone who I don't know if for anyone who was paying attention, because obviously the promotion for this happened during the strike, so it was really just Ridley Scott doing a weird promotional tour for this movie, strangest one I've witnessed. Um, but he made a big deal about how he had all these cameras set up that really gave him a lot more flexibility for filming. He was able to get a lot of the battle scenes done in like 1 or 2 takes. I want to say it. These weren't bad battle scenes. A lot of them were really good. He's done better ones. They want the best ever. For someone who really glowed about having all these cameras, something about these just didn't feel. And I don't like look, I always go back to like that initial like opening battle scene in Gladiator and how up close and visceral it was the whole time. Everything was very far away. It never felt like we were really getting into the knitting, especially when you get to the point where the cavalry are actually going at each other. You were never really there to feel it. You know what I mean? Like it was always a very cold distance away from it. And it made for to me kind of honestly like okay battle scenes at best. The only real blood and guts we got, and I'm not saying I need it, but I like my blood and guts. Was strangely enough when the civilians got shot, you saw a lot of blood and guts. Then, people get absolutely slaughtered. Which I'm like, weird choice that innocent people I see get absolutely slaughtered, but none of the soldiers throughout this movie. Like, okay, I will give a shout out. You see in the trailer a little bit the scene on the ice. That was really well done. I did really like that when they realized, oh shit, it's ice and he is shooting cannons. Like, goddamn. But again, that also to me was like why it worked was what we were talking about earlier. The smartness of Napoleon. That is something he would do back then. Hey, that's ice. Don't tell them this is what we're doing. And that is like something up his sleeve that he would have done that would have made the enemy. And you see it, they immediately go, okay, man, we underestimated you. We're done. All right. We lost too many people already.
Well, here's another little interesting tidbit about history. Napoleon Bonaparte never actually led a cavalry charge himself, which he frequently does in this movie. Um,
Yeah, and that was weird to me too, because I'm like, if I'm pretty sure I remember back then, the generals would never lead the cavalry charge. They stayed behind because they're fucking a valuable asset. Like, there's no way in hell they'd go with the gang. They'd be like, we are going to stay in the back and plan everything to keep our asses safe.
There was that little bit where the sniper, like at the Waterloo battle, is like, "I've got Napoleon in my sights, sir. Should I fire?" And Wellington's like, "Certainly not. It's not becoming of a gentleman," or some shit like that. Like, dude, you could end all this right now. Like, why do all these people have to die? Because it's not the gentlemanly way to conduct war. Like, just shoot him.
Yeah, you have the shot. He's not doing anything. Do it, and then slaughter his fucking army.
Yeah. I liked the battle scenes for the most part. Um, I did think they were a little subdued, but then again, that's just warfare in the 1790s, 1800s, where it was just you lined up and you shot at each other with a musket. No one ever thought to do something a little different that doesn't involve just lining up in front of gunfire. So
Yeah,
it's not
I
going to
mean,
be that interesting.
no, I'm saying like if he could have done it well with like Gladiator in that opening scene, and then the Gladiator fights after that, like, dude, you could have done something. You know what I mean? It
True.
just, it just, it just felt like Scott. I know you have it in you. I've seen you pull it off.
Well,
What's
here's the
going on
question.
here?
How many cameras did he have access to for Gladiator? Because clearly it's the amount of cameras that determines how good your scene is shot, not your skill as a filmmaker.
Apparently, in Gladiator, he had less, so he was forced to get the nice up close and personal. So it's like, well, yeah, you only have a little bit to work with.
Wow, that explains it then. But yeah, I think that yeah, it was kind of like it's kind of mid, as the kids say.
Look at you using modern slang mid.
I try, but I
Yeah, I
agree
like
with
I
you.
said,
Yeah,
I still I like the battle scene still. I'm just not like me. I'm not. I didn't think they were shit. It's just like I think we're single. Like, these are good, but I've seen you be able to pull off better, dude. Come on.
there's certain directors where I have very high expectations for their work because they've wowed me so much in the past. Ridley Scott's done some amazing movies, some of my favorites, and I had high hopes for this. I was really hoping this was going to be like an unforgettable historical biopic about one of the most complex historical figures of all time. But he's not very complex in this movie. He's pretty straightforward as this just weirdo who keeps getting very, like, even increasingly more powerful with pretty much zero repercussions his entire life.
Yeah, very strange. No one ever tries to. There's no scenes of people like plotting their brain. The most we get is like when he comes back and they have that little meeting, and they have like the worst thing we did is letting him live or blah blah blah. And I'm like, now you guys are having like you guys haven't fought back on this like at all.
Yeah, and then after that, they do it again. They let him live again.
Yeah,
I did like when he marches back into France and is met with his regiment, and he talks them into joining him. That was cool.
yeah. Like all the generals are just like, they're sitting there going, "What the fuck? What just happened?"
But I never bought. Napoleon is is shown as this like silver-tongued devil with the power to manipulate everyone who comes around him into thinking he's this military tactician genius and the only person who can save France. And that's how he's able to win over the people, win over the army, win over the nobility. I did not see that at any point. Not once did I think this guy, played by Joaquin Phoenix, is able to manipulate anybody into doing anything.
You see,
It was
never
all
played that part up ever.
yeah. It was all talked about, never shown. It
Yeah,
was all
no.
everybody
Instead,
saying like, "Can you believe this man has conquered France?" And it's like, how, when, what, how?
yeah, yeah. Instead, we get scenes where like him and Josephine argue at the table because he likes to eat. Because that's another thing. They keep talking about how like fat he was, but it's Joaquin Phoenix. He doesn't look that fat. Like, and I'm pretty sure Napoleon was not that fat in real life. And also, again, like Scott, dude, do a little bit of research. Back then, in the 1700s, 1800s, being fat was actually a sign of goddamn nobility and wealth because it means you were eating. If you were skinny, you were poor. You were a peasant.
I didn't really dig the whole like Josephine's whole, you're nothing without me thing. Like, I mean, he was something before he met you, so I don't know about that.
Yeah, it was very weird. Like they're like it's almost like they're putting elements for an interesting fictional movie into your biographical film, and it makes zero sense.
Yeah, I don't get that. Um, I know it sounds like we're shitting on this movie pretty hard, but I didn't hate it. I thought it was entertaining. I don't know if it's something I'll watch again, but it's not horrible. I don't think it's going to get the kind of Oscar attention Ridley was hoping for, which is kind of ironic.
Right? Another year of him being angry. Well, I mean, hey, look, he's producing some Alien films that are coming out next year, so I guess he has that going from, or Alien film coming out next year. So I guess he has that going from. I say films as if there's one film being done by Fede Alvarez right now.
You know what? I'm just glad he's not doing the original concept for Gladiator 2, which was the most batshit insane story I had ever heard in my life, and I can't believe it nearly made it. If Russell Crowe had said yes, that would have happened.
I mean, look, I am glad about that original idea not happening because I mean, I'm just gonna say it. I don't need an overrate Russell Crowe in a Gladiator sequel. I'm okay in life without saying that.
Basically saw it in
Oh,
Thor: Love and Thunder, but continue.
yeah. Oh, yeah. We got it there. I look when I tell you I am so against this Gladiator like that. I seem like every year there's a movie that gets announced that I just go, nope, not for me one bit. It is Gladiator 2 for next year. I don't give a flying fuck about Gladiator 2. I think it's fucking stupid and dumb, and I don't like it. The first one's fine with an ending that doesn't require a goddamn sequel. I don't want it. It's like whenever the studio, I think it's Lionsgate or whoever owns the John Wick franchise, I forget. When they finally formally announce John Wick 5, I won't be happy. I will be screaming in anger because it 4 had a perfect ending. Don't ruin your perfect ending. Fuck.
Well, we will see. It might not happen. I mean, I don't know. It probably is going to happen.
What if
Well,
he
well,
gets like so discouraged from like no Oscar nominations? He's like, I'm just not doing this movie now.
I'm looking forward to it coming out so we can rip it apart on first thoughts. Uh,
Yeah. God, Gladiator 2. I really thought for years I'd be one of those things where you're like, oh God, I can't believe they teased that sequel. It's never gonna happen. And then I was hearing about it and I looked and I was like, oh fuck, it's actually coming out. God damn it.
if they call it Gladiators and they get James Cameron, I'm in.
Dude, I look, if he wasn't so obsessed with blue people right now, I'd be down for that.
At least we're finally getting 4Ks of True Lies in the Abyss.
Yeah, Disney strong armed him enough in their financial woes that they were like, we need these 4Ks out now.
What's going to dig Disney out of this financial hole? Physical media, bitches.
Yeah, right. They're like, everything's failed. We need you, James Cameron. Please come out with True Lies and Aliens and Titanic and The Abyss on 4K for the love of God.
Uh, well, that's all we got for Napoleon. 3 out of 5 stars. It's not bad. It's just not that good either. So do with
Yeah,
that
I
information.
gave it.
No.
Yeah, I gave it the same thing. 3 out of 5. It's not bad. It's not that good either, though. So yeah.
Uh, Next week's release, the big one is John Woo's Silent Night, which looks exciting. Always happy to see a Woo film. Fucking master of action. And
I
also
love.
the yeah,
I'm gonna say I love the trailer. That line they put in there. They're like John Woo is back or whatever. Like they're really honing in on that. They're like, yeah, that's right. John Woo action flick. You're getting it.
about time. I don't remember the last time. Like, what was his last movie? Where the hell has he been?
Dude, I don't know. This is what's been. You know what? Look, I know we've been kind of doom and gloom with this year in the box office, but I would say it's been a very exciting year for like auteurs coming back in a way. You know what I mean? Like Kevin Gruter with Saul X, that was a big hit. You know, obviously recently with Eli Roth and Thanksgiving, and now Jean Woo with fucking Silent Night. Like hell yeah, give these actual directors that give a shit about their products a chance to shine in 2023. Hell yeah to that.
I agree. I agree. And this looks exciting. Joel Kinnaman as a father whose kid is killed and whose voice is destroyed goes after the assholes responsible for it and does not hold back. Looks nice. Love a good revenge
Yeah.
thriller. And also, there's a new Godzilla movie on the horizon, Godzilla -1, which if we can find it, we would love to talk about. So we will see. But Silent Night's the most likely episode for next week.
Yes. For the Godzilla one, for anyone not to be confused, is not a sequel to any of the American ones we've gotten recently. It is a Toho produced Japanese, like actual Japanese Godzilla sequel, prequel, whatever they want to call it themselves. They go through different eras over there, but Godzilla. But it's a new one from them that looks really fucking good. I got lucky. The Cinemark near me is doing showings for it, so I was able to get a ticket. I was very happy about that. It was actually this would be my first. I would consider first official Godzilla, not counting these recent MonsterVerse films that I get to see in theaters. So like I had to jump at the chance for that. Um, but yeah, obviously, folks, we saw Night. That's the one getting the bigger wide release John Woo action flick coming out December 1st. It's yeah, that one makes sense.
I have not seen a Japanese Godzilla on the big screen. I'm gonna have to rectify that. I'm gonna have to really hunt this down. Uh, well, that is all for this week. Take it easy. Keep watching movies. See you next time.